Hello and welcome. I'm Dennis from Findo Hobby, and this is my first time trying out something different, talking about a new format, Commoner. Alright, so this column is called Let's Talk About Commoner. We'll be covering the heroes and the deck list of these Commoner's decks, which I've tried to build them based on the cards that's in the FAB DB, and depending on what I feel the archetype would be to actually form them up and test it out. Alright, so this is actually a format that has been recently recognized by LSS and tested out in the side events of Proto New Jersey. Commoner, as it means, is that you only get to play with commons in your deck, while for your heroes and the inventory slot, you can have a rare hero and up to 2 rare cards in the inventory slot. As long as a card has been printed as a commoner, it will be legal. So we are talking about you, Springboard Somersault, and Lunging Press, which are commons in the pre-con deck. Having tested out the format, I feel that the format could be a BO3, best of 3, instead of best of 1. Yep, because it's actually a relatively fast format, and it's too fast to a certain extent that you can't, games actually finish really fast, so you could actually get a second game and third game to actually try to change the full results of the match. Yeah, and probably with all 3 games, it will probably wrap up at the same timing as a CC match. Right, so over this series, we are going to cover all the different heroes, and tonight we'll cover what I think is actually the most overpowered and busted deck because of the card Ball Lightning. So this time around, we'll be covering Briar. Ding! Alright, so let's talk about Briar. Alright, so this build of ours plays both Lightning and the Earth elements. So that's the embodiment of Lightning and embodiment of, and also do have Quicken tokens as part of the token set. That's not in the inventory slots. Alright, so as normally, Rosetta Thorn is actually the best Runeblade weapon since it has been printed. Yep, it's really good. Yep, having to deal physical damage and arcane damage, it really is a card to be reckoned with, and a card that's really hard to deal with, because you need to have 2 cards, 1 card to pitch for Arcane Barrier and 1 card to block in order to fully prevent it when it's active with its full set of ability. Alright, and we are playing both sides to utilize both goodness for the Earth sides and the Lightning sides. So Briar itself is an aggro deck, and generally it dishes out around 10 plus damage a turn, or takes away all cards from your opponent's hand and still manage to deal some damage. Alright, so let's take a look at the inventory slots that we are playing. Alright, so this is our general equipments, Snapdragon Scalers, to give our attacks go again, which of all our attacks, all of them are actually a 1 cost or 0 cost, so it actually makes all of our attack have go again if needed. Next card that we have, Mark of Lightning. Alright, so it's actually a card that's really good when coupled with our Ball Lightnings. So if, let's say for example, if a player blocks cards from this or her hand on your Ball Lightning, you could set this up and deal 1 arcane, so not say deal 1 arcane damage, but rather deal damage to your opponent, and that damage is amplified by the Ball Lightnings that's in the combat chain. Yep, so that's why it's really good, and it's a must-have. And next up, we have a Aether Iron Weave. So it's really easy to actually fulfill the condition of playing out an attack action and non-attack action, and it does give us the boost that we need, the 2 resource if we need to use it up. And besides, it has better wand, so it could block for 1 before we use this up to give our attacks the needed boost on the resource that we need. And last but not least, Iron Rod Helm. right? So it's a trusty one block defense helmet that's actually useful. Yeah. So which means that we actually start at 22 life with our equipments. Yep, so I also do have the now runes, which against any wizards, it's actually important. The arcane barrier that we have, the 3 different arcane barriers. So if we are playing against the wizard, we would probably have our Snapdragon Scalers. Yep. Alright, okay, so camera's changing. Alright, and the other Flexi Slots that we have, Hope Merchant Hood, Iron Rod, Iron Hide Helm, and Iron Hide Gauntlet. So these would be good additions or good defense against a fellow aggro deck like Briar. And having a Hope Merchant Hood in the sideboard, or rather in the Flexi Slot, gives us the chance or allows us to actually have the ability to actually wash the cards from our hand, rinse with the cards from library, and have us change the cards so that if a turn we draw all non-attack actions or all attack actions without go again, that's where we actually try to wash it away and have another hand so that we don't brick on that turn. Alright, other than that, we are also playing 20 action. Alright, 20 attack actions and 20 non-attack actions in our deck, so that we actually have the ability to play out Rosetta-thon every turn if possible, and that's where we actually try to clinch the deal with Rosetta-thon. Alright, so these are the cards that we are playing for the attack actions. Alright, 6 of them, the Ball Lightnings. These are the really bastard cards. They are actually being banned or suspended in the Blitz format because that's really powerful. It makes all the lightning attacks and all elemental attacks be amplified when it deals damage to opponent. Yep, so it's really good, and especially comboed with the Mark of Lightning could deal some unblockable damage amplified by the Ball Lightning with the Mark of Lightning. Alright, and we have the unconditional go again cards. The conditional go again cards like Scar for Scar, Endpoint Lightning Fuse, and Surging Strike if it's played from Arsenal. So these are cost 0s and deals 4, and it makes it opponent hard to block, and that's why we are playing it. It's definitely we'll be able to deal some damage, or if not, we'll be taking some cards out from our opponents. Alright, and we have the Arcane damage package, which is Arcanic Shockwave and Arcanic Crackle. Alright, so these are the cards that allows us to deal a multi-dimensional kind of damage, both physical and arcane damage, which makes opponents block a lot harder. And if they don't block the arcane damage, it allows us to actually play our meet and greet out, having a conditional go again. If opponent takes the arcane damage, it will again go again, and if it hits, it will create rune chance that allows us to actually whack with our Rosetta-thon. That will be 1 rune chant damage, 2 arcane damage from Rosetta-thon, and 2 physical damage. That's like 5 damage if they have taken 1 arcane damage earlier, and if they don't block fully on the meet and greet. Last but not least, the utility card, Flock of the Featherwalkers, is both a yellow pitch in order to increase the pitch count of the deck, and also it does help with generating a more explosive next turn by creating the Quicken token. Alright, so let's take a look at the other cards for the non-attack actions. Alright, so these are the cards. That's a normal pump spells, Nimblism, Come to Fight, and Razor Reflex. These are the cards that will pump our normal attack to make them a lot harder to block, or rather it's like a 1-for-1 card, kind of, if opponent is blocking for a 3-block card. So having played these cards out, other than like Nimblism or Come to Fight, this means that opponent needs to block with at least 2 cards in order not to take any damage, or rather to take 1 damage if it's a 7 attack. They need to block with 3 blocks in order to just take 1 damage. And with Razor Reflex, it allows us, our attack, to actually have go again if it hits. Yep, so it's a surprise element. And also, if, let's say for example, if we have Ball Lightnings, that's where it really does its shine. Alright, next up, we have the Earth package, which is the Bramble Sparks, followed with the Earth Law Surge. Alright, so the reason why we are playing Earth Law Surge is so that we could fuse the Bramble Spark. And usually, most of the time, if we can fuse the Bramble Spark, that will be really good, because it allows us to pump our attack and also allows us to deal arcane damage to opponent if we couple with the Ball Lightning is amplified. Alright, so why we are playing the blue and the yellow Earth Law Surge is because to help smoothen out our pitch, just in case some of our 1-cost cards needs the blue cost pitch. Like, let's say for example, if you play out a Electrify, Come to Fight, then after that to attack with Rosetta Thorn. So that allows us to pitch with 1 blue card and use up the 3 resource provided by the 1 blue card. Alright, next up, our damage package would be our Electrifies. Alright, so Electrify itself is really powerful. It makes sure that opponents blocks all our attack action cards this turn, so that they don't take additional damage from Electrify. And if it's played from Arsenal, it draws us back a card. So it helps to offset, or rather it helps to actually let us get back our card after being played, and forces opponent to fully block for the turn. Next and last but not least, lead to charge rate, because all our attacks are actually 0 or 1 cost, or rather most of them are actually 0 cost, and some of them do not have a confirm go again. We are playing it so that to make sure that our attacks would have a go again kind of effect, in order for us to attack with our Rosetta Thorn as our 2nd or our 3rd attack. Yep. So that's the explanation of all the cards that we are playing for the Briar deck. And that's the end of the first episode of Let's Talk About Commoner. Alright. And I hope that if you like this video, please do like, subscribe and share this video, so that more people would know about this format, more people would try to play with this format, and that's where LSS would actually come up and change the cards. If let's say if we feel that Ball Lightning is too busted, that's where it would be suspended or banned in this format, so that we could have a healthier format overall. Yeah, so yep, do remember to like, subscribe and share if you really like this video, and hope that this helps to give you an idea of the Commoner format and also about Briar in the Commoner format. Alright, okay, so let's talk about something additional. So let's say for example, if you do not like lead the charge in this configuration, you could try to play the blue Electrifies, which would be able to have the same, or rather not to say they have the same effect, but rather it would be a possible substitute, but it works differently. Having play a blue Electrify means that you are just trying to push for one additional damage and trying to replace the card that you have played from your arsenal. But this doesn't mean that you'll definitely have the go against, which allows you to attack with your Rosetta Thought. Yep. So overall, that's the reason why I prefer to play Lead the Charge. And yes, I think that's all that I would like to cover for Briar in the Commoner format. And that's all for tonight. Hopefully, we will come up with the second video soon. If you would like to be notified of our second video, remember to subscribe so that when the video comes up, you'll know of it. And we'll be probably talking about Ira or Kasai in our episode 2 of Let's Talk About Commoner. Alright, good night, everyone. Take care and enjoy your weekend.